Good morning, everyone. My name's Adrian Kovic. Thank you so much for coming to today's presentation on securing today's modern endpoints by Symantec. I just want to firstly just do a quick sound check to see that we're all okay sound-wise. I'm just going to look for some feedback in the chat window. All right, well, we might get going then. So again, thank you so much for coming to today's presentation. As I said, my name is Adrian Kovic, and I head the SE team, or Systems Engineering team here in Symantec. So I look after a lot of things to do with product and a lot of things to do with helping our customers take on our products and use our products to the best of their ability. So one of the key areas that I'm very excited about is our ability to be able to help our customers secure their endpoints, and that's really what I want to talk about today. So, jumping in, I guess one of the reasons why this is an exciting area to help our customers secure the business is because securing what we call endpoints today is a very important task, and there's a few reasons that I guess I want to call out for why it is so important. The first is that attacks are increasing. And I've been in this industry for quite a few years now, and I don't think that's changed in all the time that I've been there. But certainly things are ramping up, and one of the areas that is particularly important is that we know that what we would call small to medium businesses are definitely in the crosshairs of attackers. With some of the statistics we've pulled from our last Internet Security Threat Report, which Symantec carries out every year, was that 61% of attacks target small to medium businesses. And that's really important. That puts them, as I said, very much in the crosshairs of attackers. The second interesting trend, or the thing that's shaking this arena up a bit, is that the use of mobile phones or mobile devices, and particularly personal mobile devices that might have work-related information on them, is also increasing. I guess you may hear terms like bring your own device. As businesses allow people to consume information and interact with business systems on bring your own device items, the security of those becomes more and more important. And I guess lastly, and this is a really key one as well, we know that 86% of small businesses don't have the security teams that banks or financial institutions or government bodies have. And so if you combine those things together, these add up to a big problem today for most organizations. They are being attacked, and they don't have the resources to deal with it. So how do you, how is that an issue that we can solve? Well, here at Symantec, we can do a lot about helping organizations deal with this threat, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Because as partners, we can bring those solutions together to mean happier, more secure customers. So I guess you keep hearing this talk about endpoint security, I guess, and why is it critical? Well, you need to be able to secure businesses at what we call the endpoint, because that's the point where the data is stored and where users interact. So it's fine to have network security, it's fine to have firewalls, it's fine to have email filters, but you really need to be close to where the users are so that you can secure them and the data they process. Secondly, there's an old adage of why the robbers rob banks. Well, that's where the money is. That's why they rob banks. In this instance, why do attackers attack the endpoint? Why are they looking to compromise, desktops? Why are they looking to compromise mobile phones? Well, it's because it's the ultimate destination for the data, and being able to secure here is really your last line of defense. And like a sort of echoing from that point, most of the data that's sensitive, most of the data that we want to protect is actually sitting on the machines, on the notebooks, on the mobile phones of the people who interact with it. And I guess lastly, we all live in what we call now the cloud generation. This is again the common point to be able to secure data. Being able to secure an endpoint is really important. And again, if any security strategy, any security competency needs to have adequate endpoint security. So our mission here at Symantec is actually, a really, really powerful one. We want to make sure that we can allow businesses, including SMBs, to protect their data, whether it's a server, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a mobile device, but also help them manage them, because a managed device is also a secure one. But we also want to make sure that all these tools are easy to be able to deploy and easy to be able to manage. Because like we said a minute ago, the organizations are trying to protect, although they're under threat, they don't have dedicated security staff. So this has to be easy. And this potentially also has to be something that they can have a partner do on their behalf as well. So how do we do that? And I guess that's a lot about what we'll talk about today. How is this, what we call SEP Cloud, going to allow your customers to be more secure in a way that they're able to consume because they don't have dedicated security staff? And how do we do that in a way that's going to be able to deal with the fact that these users are potentially always on the move, given the fact that we want to be able to manage this from the cloud? And hopefully that makes sense, because that's going to be the theme of today. So I want to, I guess, do second thing first, which is really about management. As someone that's worked in the security industry for quite a few years, we know there's a ton of really complicated, really advanced threat protection technologies out there. And you know what? There is definitely a place for those, but that place isn't in the majority of SMBs across Australia and New Zealand. They aren't going to be able to consume today's latest and greatest advanced systems because they're complicated. And one of the missions that we have here at Symantec is to be able to say, yes, let's definitely give that advanced protection, but let's make sure that we can give that in a form factor that's easy for our customers to consume. And so what we came up with was this product that leveraged a whole heap of technologies we had called SEP Cloud, so Symantec Endpoint Protection Cloud. And again, real great benefits of that is there isn't any hardware that you need to stand up or software that you need to stand up from a management perspective. It's all managed from the cloud, in the same way that you'd manage, your other cloud providers and cloud services. We're taking exactly the same approach for SEP. So, like I said, rather than complicated infrastructure, this is something that's easy for your customers to deploy and to manage. And we go a step further than that. We also make sure that if there are updates that need to happen, if there's configuration changes that need to happen, that's all done via the cloud. And so the IT overhead on this is small. And again, that's going back to that mission of being able to make sure that we can allow customers who don't have dedicated security staff, who have disparate networks, who might have offices all over the place, or might have half of their people working from home, can make sure that they can be secure and manage that security. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, so what do we bring to this, and why Symantec Endpoint Protection Cloud? Well, the most important thing to say is, for all the management that we talk about, let's make sure we do the job well. Let's make sure that we can protect against today's threats, and that whether that's ransomware or malware or viruses, let's make sure that we can do that well. And Symantec brings a lot of capability here. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but Symantec has been in this business for nearly 2 decades. We've been in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for quite a few years on this path, and other independent reviewers and analysts concur. Symantec has the most experience, the most breadth, the most capability, the most amount of researchers to be able to make sure that if you are deploying our software on your endpoints to protect your endpoint, it remains protected. We've got a whole heap of technology that I'll go through there, but you can't go wrong with Symantec from an endpoint protection perspective. Like I said before, really important, and part of this SEP Cloud is that it's a single console. That same console allows you to manage your PCs, your notebooks, your Macs, your mobiles, and even your servers. And if I want to deploy policy or make changes, I can do that very simply through the portal. It doesn't matter which operating system that this has. And lastly, in terms of management, it's self-enrolled, so users can self-enroll in. And also the idea is we've done a lot of work to make sure this is simple for people who might have an IT staff or might have outsourced IT staff, but don't necessarily have that security expertise in-house. You don't need a PhD in computer security defense to be able to operate this product. And there's some really key key parts of our mission that we wanted to make sure that we delivered on. And I'm really happy to say that we tick all of these boxes in SEP Cloud. So a little bit of the technical stuff, and as you sort of saw on my title, I was the system engineering manager, so a director. So a lot of my passion is around being able to talk about the protection, but I won't make you sit through that today. I guess I did want to call out a few things around, I guess, the levels of protection that we do have. So no one else in the industry has as many layers of detection and protection as what we do here in Symantec Endpoint Protection. We cover, across the globe, we cover roughly 200 million machines by either through our corporate product, which is Symantec Endpoint Protection, or Norton, which you may have heard as our consumer product. And through those technologies, we get a ton of intelligence, and we also get a ton of capability. And so, I'm going to call out a couple of things here. Inbuilt, we have a firewall and intrusion protection on machines. So again, we're not just looking for viruses, we're looking for bad incoming behavior. We're protecting the machine's memory. We're looking at when files are downloaded, do they have a good reputation? We do things like try and unpack anything that's been compressed or encoded in such a way that tries to fool the computer, as well as what we would call antivirus. Now, all this means is that we've got multiple layers, just like multiple fences around an organization's physical premises, if you like. We've got multiple layers of protection to make sure that if there's one attack that's stealthy and gets through one of these layers, it's going to be caught by another. And these are all sort of designed to work at different parts of the attack kill chain. And all of this is backed again by Symantec's research and development, making sure that we are one step ahead of attackers. So really the net here is that if there is an attack, we're going to be able to detect it. And as those new attacks get developed, we're going to be able to detect them as well. The net for you really is Symantec customers are secure customers. I'm going to give one example here, and I guess this is one that we talk about a lot, which is ransomware. And like a lot of these attacks, these are what we call multi-stage, right? So we've sort of called out here, there's sort of 4 areas, and I won't sort of bore you with tons of detail around here, but happy to sort of answer questions on that. Each attack has multiple stages, and ransomware is one of those ones that everyone's aware of. It's been around for a little while, extremely painful, and can be very expensive and disruptive for businesses. So I just want to sort of talk through to give you some of the benefit of, I guess, how to talk through how we protect against this, because quite often one of the questions we'll get from organizations who might be using a commodity level piece of antivirus technology, or maybe they've been attacked and their existing provider hasn't been able to protect them from ransomware in the past. Well, how does Symantec protect me from these threats? Because these are the kind of ones that I worry about. A ransomware attack could actually take me out of business for multiple days and cost me a lot of money. How can me investing in your technology help that? So I'm going to spend a couple minutes going through that. At this point, I think I've agreed with the moderators that if there's any questions, please maybe jump in. I tend to talk very fast when I go through these sort of things, so please jump in. I think we've got the lines open, so if you want to ask a question, jump in and do that. So because this is the kind of bit that I'm pretty keen on being interactive around. So if someone tries to download a piece of malware, I guess 3 of the layers that I talked about before will kick in. So let's just play through the scenario. I've been sent an email, hey, your gas bill has been delivered. Can you please download your bill in order to be able to pay your bill? Or the old classic one is you've been given a speeding fine and you've been caught on camera. Please click on this link so that you can see the photo of your car going through the speeding camera. And of course, people click on it, right? So let's look at what happens. So we've clicked on the link. Now at this point, 3 of the Symantec technologies kick in. And again, I won't sort of go through a ton of detail here, but first of all, we're going to say, what, this file looks dodgy from a reputation perspective. We may or may not have seen it before. If we've seen it before, the antivirus kicks in. If we haven't seen it before, the reputation will kick in. And as will what we call intrusion prevention, which is looking for activity that might be dicey around this download. The second thing that will happen is, well, as soon as if the malware does get installed, right? So let's just say it's got past these 3 layers. if we start to try and run that malware, and the malware, the next thing the malware will do, will try and call back to its home to work out what the next instructions are, bang, we've got what we call intrusion protection. So it says, hang on a minute, this machine shouldn't be calling out to this place in this way, let's stop it. Okay, so that's a critical part of what they call the attack chain. That means that we can stop this attack in its tracks because this machine isn't able to download its further instructions. But let's just say it was successful. The next thing that we do is we say, you know what, once those instructions are coming back, hang on a minute, why are we getting instructions coming back from this server in some other random part of the world? And what's it trying to do? Because usually the bit that comes down from the server is sort of the bit that tells you, well, let's start encrypting, or let's start doing some nefarious things from the computer. So at this point, the machine's saying, well, hang on a minute, I've downloaded some stuff. That stuff's we thought it was kind of okay, we let it happen. Now we're going to start to monitor that behavior. Hang on a minute, it's trying to access a part of a memory that it shouldn't. Hang on a minute, it's not doing what Microsoft Word does. Hang on a minute, it's not doing a whole heap of these. It shouldn't be doing a whole heap of these activities on this machine that it is. Now at that point, because of the level of technology that we have, we can actually interrupt that communication. We can interrupt those activities and we can stop them from happening. And again, that's really a cool part of, I guess, the binding that Symantec has on the machine and some of the cool technology we have to interrupt those processes. So again, we've gone through multiple steps, multiple checks. And again, let's just say that we haven't been able to detect it. Well, sorry, the last thing that we'll do is also block the encryption as well, because again, the encryption is something we'll pick up. So the point I really want to make here is that we're not telling you we have this one piece of sort of cool technology or cool tests that's going to be able to stop attacks. The real hallmark of what Symantec brings here is intelligence and also the ability to be able to put multiple layers of protection in place, including things like I said, machine learning, memory exploit, intrusion prevention, not just antivirus. Now, I've got a question here. So we've got here, does it support Unix OS? We've got some slides a little bit later on about that, about the platforms that we support. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go pivot to mobile now, and then we're going to pivot to servers. So mobile is one of those really new and exciting areas that we're spending a lot of time on. And like I said before, I think the old adage that I think most of you heard before is, you know, why do robbers rob banks? That's where the money is. Certainly in the case of where people are moving their data, where people are moving their activity to, it's definitely to mobile. The amount of time I now spend on my iPad or my Apple iPhone is a lot larger than what I had in the past, and I can certainly tell you that there's people here at Symantec that I work with who spend almost all of their time on their iPads. And so that hasn't gone unnoticed from a cyber criminal perspective either. So when you're looking at, you know, when customers are asking you, hey, you know, what kind of protection should we put in place? The answer is, you know, if you're really doing this in a fair dinkum way, you've got to make sure that you're also covering the mobile angle. And some key validation points is, you know, we know that there were 54% increase in mobile malware variants last year. So we want to make sure that we can protect that, because there's not really much in the market that does that right now. So from a malware perspective, things are increasing, but also, I guess, these devices, the amount of vulnerabilities that we're now discovering is also increasing. And you saw by the end of 2017, so the last calendar year, there was an 80% increase in vulnerabilities. So vulnerabilities aren't viruses. What they are holes or they're holes or ways that the code is written on these operating systems that leaves a possibility of an attack, or think of it as a door open. And we're seeing as we're taking a closer look at those mobile devices, as we're asking them to do more things, more vulnerabilities appear, and you know these things are quite widely published when they come out. And again, as a business, it's not only difficult for me to see those vulnerabilities, it's also very difficult for me to manage them as well, particularly if we're talking about bringing your own devices. If people have an Android version, 3 or 4 versions ago, running, accessing your corporate environment, say for instance your Office 365 or your corporate cloud applications, what real visibility or control do you have to secure your business against that? The answer to that is not very much right now. If you're not, you know, you're not deploying SEP Cloud. And I guess lastly, many of you have probably heard this before or seen this in around, is that as people are more mobile, they're more likely to connect to Wi-Fi hotspots. And that's a real area of concern. And certainly, if you're interested in this sort of area, you can certainly see things like the Wi-Fi pineapple, where it's super easy to be able to pretend to be a trusted network and be able to do what they call man-in-the-middle attacks. So basically, if someone connects to your Wi-Fi, to be able to listen to what they're saying, even if it's an encrypted link, because of the use of some smart phishing that they do. So as we can see, there's if you put those together, it's actually an area that we want to make sure that customers can deal with. So I won't sort of go through this in a ton of detail, but you can sort of see that that's an area that we know that organizations need to be able to deal with, because these users are constantly on the move. So from Symantec's SEP Cloud, we actually bring a whole heap of those capabilities that you wouldn't normally get. And this isn't the same as what they call MDM, mobile device management. This is being able to protect both BYOD and corporate devices. So the first thing that we can do is, well, if we install SEP Mobile, let's make sure that the machines aren't misconfigured, or what we call jailbroken or rooted. And that's a common thing that people do to try and get around security controls in the operating system. Now, that's cool if it's their mobile phone and they don't connect to corporate resources, fill your boots. But if you're allowing people to access cloud applications, then chances are the price of entry, you're going to want to make sure that those devices, even if they're not yours, are secure and they don't open you to any more threats. How can I understand who's, we talk about asset management, how can I understand who's connecting to my network and what they're doing? So let me just move this window. And apply policy. We can do things like encryption. We can do things like making sure we can allow users to easily install this device. And if we need to, for corporate devices, if it's lost, let's wipe it. So all of a sudden, we're going beyond, I guess, what we would call traditional antivirus, and going a lot more into, the whole concept of a device that's properly managed is one that is secure. And if you've got secure devices, chances are you're going to have a much more secure business. Hopefully that makes sense to you. This is definitely something that's more appropriate and more modern, and a far more powerful conversation that you can have with your customers than simply let's sell you some antivirus. I guess the other bit I wanted to sort of say is, well, like I said before, one of the tough areas around bring your own device is, how do I get this software on people's computers? Well, very easy. We make this super easy for you to be able to deploy this out. You'll notice here, we even, rather than just managing devices, one of the cool things about SEP Cloud is we're actually managing people. So in this case, Bob has 3 machines. I don't know why he's got Steve's phone, but let's just say he does. How can I make sure I enroll out to them? That process, I won't bore you with today the minutiae of how that works, but it's actually a super easy process to be able to roll that out. And again, we go back to that whole, SMBs and medium-sized businesses don't have dedicated IT staff for security. They want to be able to do things simply and easily. They want to be able to make sure that if they are asking people to enroll their personal devices onto some corporate protection, that's something that's easy to do. And again, we do that really well. We can also do things like encryption. So one of the cool things that we can do as an add-on is be able to help organizations manage the encryption of their devices. And this is getting pretty powerful conversation, because with the mandatory breach disclosure laws that Australia has enacted recently, and obviously with GDPR, if you lose a laptop and the laptop's not encrypted, well, that's potentially a data breach. One of the areas that you can make sure that isn't a data breach is to make sure that those laptops are encrypted. And we help organizations with that. Because the last thing we're now a number of quarters in, and there's a quarterly report where it names and shames organizations who have been subject to the data breach, and that list is long. But one of the areas that they talk about there is credential theft, which is password stolen, and lost devices. And by putting encryption in place, so that the hard drives of the machines are encrypted or the devices are encrypted, we're going to make sure that those, that if it is lost, that data remains secure. We can't really have a modern discussion anymore without talking about the cloud. And one of the key cloud areas that organizations are working through now, I'm sure most of your customers are either starting that journey or getting ready to start that journey or some way along it, is around Office 365. So there's a couple of really cool integrations we have with Office 365. We're definitely down with the cloud, and that's, again, a key part of what we're doing here. There's some examples here on this slide around how we can help organizations by protecting them from data that's downloaded from Office 365 that might be infected, and that's really quite common. But also really some great integrations with what they call Azure AD, which is the identity management system inside of 365, as well as being able to control Office 365 email access. Again, if you're having conversations about, I want to deploy endpoint protection to secure myself, and the customer's like, well, you know, what do I need? Well, this is a really important consideration. So if you're going to deploy something that is going to help your customers be more secure, it's got to take this into account. Now, a little bit, I guess, about Symantec. I've got a few slides here, and I'm cognizant that, again, I'm going a little bit faster than I normally do. Symantec is the trusted vendor when it comes to securing your infrastructure. And when we look at what we call the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which I think many of you probably have heard of before, Gartner do a review of a number of across a number of IT capabilities. One of the ones they do is around endpoint protection, and Symantec's head and shoulders above everyone else when it comes to being able to secure customers' endpoints. A lot of the things they look about there are things like platform support. You know, do they just support Windows, or do they support a whole heap more? Is it easy to use? Does it integrate with solutions that that customers are using? Do we rate the company's research and development? Do we believe that they've got their finger on the pulse in terms of new technologies? All those things go into Gartner, who's an independent organization, rating the capability. And like I said, for goodness knows how many years in a row, we've been #1 in what we call the Leaders Quadrant. You'll see a number of other providers here, and I'm not here to talk about them, and many of them you probably are across as well. You know, when you do have the chance to recommend potential solutions to your customers, and to find a partner who's wanting to be on that journey with you, then Symantec, you know, has to be something that's on that list. And again, Gartner has made that pretty clear, as well as things like AV tests, who concentrate more on being able to detect malware. As you can see there, for 3 years in a row, endpoint protection has been awarded by AV, and things like Forrester and other reviewers give us, again, leaders capability there. Hopefully that makes sense. It's one of those you can't go wrong with Symantec. I guess as a partner, I wanted to sort of call out now, some partners are really interested in selling and distributing our product, and that's, again, we've made that really easy. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. One of the other areas, though, that we wanted to make sure was part of our capability was helping partners manage customers as well. So if you want to have a managed service provider business, or if you want to deploy this to multiple customers and manage it, then we've made that super easy. And again, we know that in this sector, there's going to be customers who want to manage it themselves. We know there's customers who are going to want some help managing it. We know we've got some customers who want to have this managed completely, and we want to be able to give those partners who want to be able to do that, who offer those value-added services, the ability to be able to do that and do it really well, and differentiate themselves from others who might be using on-premise or sort of other technologies that are kind of Frankenstein into being put into the cloud. Because this is cloud native, we can do so many more things around helping you manage this as a managed service provider. So one of those things is, as a partner, if you have customers who are registered for you, you can actually manage individual cloud tenants for your customers. So from what we call the partner management console, you can actually manage each of your customers. And that might mean you might set up policy for them. That might mean that you have different reports for them. That might mean that you you keep an eye on certain trends or deploy policy or actually deploy the agent. We also integrate into a platform called ConnectWise, which is used by MSPs to help sort of broader MSP-related tasks, and our connection there is helping deploy this technology through platforms out to endpoints. From a commercial perspective, I guess to sort of get into the sort of more nitty-gritty about how managed service providers can run this software. You can manage, like we say there, hundreds of customers from a single dashboard. You can start to value add by generating your own kinds of reports. You can aggregate those reports a different way, so that if you're MSP Inc., you can you can very quickly and easily provide something very powerful to your customers. You can also have what we call aggregated visibility. So what that means is you can see across your network as well. And what that really adds up to is I can do a better job, I can do it for the bottom line cheaper, and I can differentiate and give it a much bigger capability to my company, which is really what, if you're a managed service provider, you want to be able to do. You want to be able to be the best at the best with the best costs. So I'll just keep moving. I guess here's a really good sort of example here. As a partner, I can look through here across my whole organization and say, you know what, here's my customer base, and across there we've actually seen, let's just say, I mean it's all zeros here, but let's just say we've seen an uptick in malware that we've stopped across our board. Well, that's something that we might want to take a closer look at. I can also do things like bring on more customers and bring on and value add through things like cool reporting and so on. All the MSPs that I talk to really love this. And again, I know not everyone on this call is an MSP, so I don't want to linger on that too long. But if you do want to build a business around helping your customers by managing their endpoints, this is a really exciting capability. We've also done some cool things around aligning making this platform something that we're going to expand on in the future. So as we bring on other products, so not just endpoint protection, but things like protecting customers' Office 365, protecting customers' emails, we're going to bring those into the same platform. So the same ease of use, the same sort of management is something that's going to be able to be done from this one portal. It's very, very exciting from our perspective. I'm going to hand over to Lisa, who's on the call now. So while I'm the guy that gets very excited about technology, Lisa's all about helping you make money. So I'm going to hand over to Lisa now. Lisa, if you're on the call, if I can just get you to chime in and take it from here.
Yes, of course. Thanks everyone for taking the time to find out more about our technology portfolio for the cloud generation and for securing your cloud customers. And I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of opportunity registration and Margin Builder, because really this is about helping you not only add value to your customers, but make money. So if you don't mind just clicking through on that, Adrian, to open up and populate this slide. Perfect. Thank you. So I've shown here that Symantec and Blue Coat have merged a couple of years ago, and what we brought to the table, what the two organizations decided to do was to provide you with a way of adding not only price protecting your opportunities, your customer opportunities when you bring them to us, but to also add margin, a profit margin to your deal. So when you bring an opportunity to us, the first thing we want you to consider is, am I bringing a small business opportunity? Because if I am, and to Symantec, we define a small business opportunity as being less than 250 seats. And if you're bringing a small business opportunity or a SEP cloud solution, then you might want to utilize Margin Builder. And that will allow a registered, a silver partner, a gold or a platinum partner to price protect and add margin of 10% or 15%, depending on your partner status level, on top of your existing reseller margin. Now, when you have an opportunity for more seats, for more than, which is basically 10K US dollars or above, then when you're a silver or gold platinum partner, you can take advantage of the opportunity registration system. And this actually says for less than 250 seats, you can actually do much greater. Margin Builder you can actually do for greater than 250 seats as well. So this is a little bit of an outdated slide. Apologies for that. It's a minimum of 25 users and a maximum of 10,000 plus. So the opportunity there is for you to basically make a little bit more money when you bring the opportunity to us. And it's as simple, it takes 3 minutes. It's as simple as going to your PartnerNet portal, the Secure One PartnerNet portal, and clicking on a link, adding an opportunity. You select your distributor of choice, which in this case would be Ingram Micro, and enter your customer details. And it's all very, very simple drop-down menu that'll take you 3 minutes just to get an extra 10, 15% or more margin on your opportunity. Adrian, if we go to the next slide, you'll see a real wonderful incentive. Just basically help you get in the habit of it. No one likes to do that little bit more admin, but it's worth it. And it's worth it because of the margin. It's worth it because of the price protection you get when you're introducing your customers to Symantec. And it can also be worth it to you and profitable to you as an individual, just to kind of hone those skills. And by becoming a cloud security superhero, you can basically accumulate points for Margin Builder, so for registering with Margin Builder, and one SEP Cloud email security service deal is equal to 1 point. And when you close that deal, that's equal to 4 points. And so for every 5 points that you get $100 US as a reward. So it's a really fantastic incentive to just help, you know, give you a bit more of a reason to go to the partner portal where you can get access to plenty more information besides just what Adrian has presented to you before. If you haven't been on the PartnerNet portal, you know, reach out to myself, and I'll be happy to step you through that process. The first time you do something, it might be a little bit daunting. It's definitely worth it. It's a profitable thing to do, and it shows us the value that part of the value that you're bringing as a partner and a reseller. So definitely take advantage of our technology, of our position as a Gartner Quadrant leader, as well as the ways that you can add profitability to your business by positioning these solutions and helping your customers to manage security of the endpoint through our cloud SEP solution, our SEP cloud solution. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. As Adrian said, my name is Lisa Curiel. I'm the distribution manager for Ingram Micro. There are also many ways that you can actually sell this solution. So this solution is available through Ingram Micro's licensing team as an annual commercial offering, or through the Ingram Micro Cloud team as a monthly billing service, which means it's regardless of your way of going to market, you can position this with your clients the way that you commercially find is the best way to position with your clients. So thank you for listening to us today. Please take the time to answer the questions at the end of this presentation so that you can add additional points to the Aspire program. And we really appreciate your time spent with us here at Symantec today.
Yeah, actually, Lisa, we've got a question here. Does Margin Builder offer opportunity registration for SEP Cloud now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Margin Builder does have SEP Cloud is included in our small business and our corporate price list, and so yes, you may utilize, but not for the cloud monthly version, only through the yearly licensing model. So it's a qualified yes when you register an opportunity using the yearly software licensing model of SEP Cloud, right, which is just an annual commercial billing. Then Margin Builder and opportunity registration both apply.
Yeah,
when
great.
you're purchasing on a monthly basis through the Ingram Micro Cloud team, Margin Builder does not apply.
Okay,
just
cool,
to clarify that.
How do we enable partner management console for our clients who we have deployed SEP Cloud to? That's something that we should have, or we might take that one offline. I think it was from Nitin there. We might take that one offline. I think that's something that we should have already done. Let's check to make sure that we can. That might be something that we troubleshoot with you, because that should have already been done.
That's right. And just to state, Partner Management Console is an additional product. It's a zero value solution that gets added automatically. It's at no additional price. So that, you know, it should come through to you in the form of an additional line item when Ingram Micro quotes it out to you.
Yeah. So cool. And we had a technical question here. In